Hello, everybody. We want to welcome you to Get Connected, the young adult service that we have started this year in 2022. Today, I have a few friends with me. I have Aaron Connor and Rayshonda Bullock. So we're going to be talking about getting connected with you. But before we started, we wanted to have a little worship with you guys, and our worship is called praise and worship. It's called Together. So I want you guys to listen to the song by Jacqueline Carr, my bad. She talked about getting connected with you in a song, and it's very inspirational. So we want you guys to tune in, listen, and enjoy. Just listen to the words. There's no music video or anything like that because, we don't want the copyright problems. But tune in and enjoy Getting Connected with You by Jacqueline Carr. I know, right? You were like, wow, like that really is inspirational. It's really talking about like getting connected. Well, we're not even gonna stop there. One thing young adults I've learned now that I am a young adult, we love spoken word. Like spoken word, it presents like a more powerful meaning, a more poetic way because a lot of us love rap. And I found this guy. His name is Prince Ia, and like he does great, powerful spoken word. And he did one talking about who am I, and to get connected with oneself, you gotta kind of first understand who you are. So I want you to check out his poetry spoken word, Who Am I?
What is the most important question a human being can ask themselves in their entire life? What's my purpose? Why am I here? What TV show should I watch next? The most important question a human being can ask themselves is, who am I? Who am I is the question that answers all questions. Been a rapper for about 8 years, right? Then I got tired of it. I got bored. It got dry and dull. So I was like, what else can I do? What can make me happy? So I went on this spiritual journey to figure out, who am I? Who is this being inhabiting this body, this entity looking through these eyes? When I say spiritual journey, I don't mean I went to the Himalayan mountains and played checkers with the Dalai Lama or nothing like that. I just looked inside. And I don't know if I figured anything out or just realized what was already there, but what I found was peace, calm, compassion, and love. But see, to define yourself is to confine yourself. I don't know what I do. I just am. I do what I am. And I think that's the reason, that's the secret for the 130 million views. I stopped competing. I stopped comparing. I stopped trying to be something with somebody, and I just decided to be. That's it. Everybody talks about the key to success is you got to do what you love. Do what you love. But how do you know what you love if you don't know who you are? I mean, our personalities change so much throughout our lives. Think about the past 5 years of your life. I guarantee you, you desire something totally different then than you do now. Go 5 years back. So personality isn't a reliable way to find out what you love. So we got to go beyond personality. But what is beyond personality? We're people, we're persons, right? Well, I can't explain it, but it's something right here. It's something right here. And it's the difference between satisfaction and fulfillment. It's the difference between interest and passion. And if you don't operate from the heart, I can guarantee you, you will climb a ladder, and if you get to the top, you will realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. So don't be afraid to climb down off of that ladder. Don't practice foolish consistency. How many of us live our lives trying to be consistent with something that's not true to who we are? If you're not truly passionate about something, don't be afraid to change course. Helen Keller was once asked by a reporter. She was asked, what on earth will be worse than being born blind? You know what she said? She said it would be infinitely worse to be born with sight but no vision. I want to ask you guys a question. Where is the wealthiest place in the world? The richest place in the world? Dubai, China. See, the richest place in the world is the graveyard. Because there you will find inventions never invented, cures never discovered, books never written, songs never sung, ideas never nurtured, and people never realized because they were scared to take a risk. You're not in the graveyard, right? Not yet. You're still here. But we get one life. One life. And every passing moment, you will never get back again. You will never walk through those doors in the same exact way that you did coming here again. You will never brush your teeth in the same way twice in your life. So be here. Value these moments. These moments are all we have. These moments right now, the present moment. You know, growing up, I was skinny. I was shy. I was a nervous kid. You know, my mom actually thought I had mental disabilities. teacher by the name of Mrs. Williams in the 3rd grade. She wanted to hold me back. She said I was slow. But I never let somebody's opinion of me determine my reality. Our dreams are possible. You know, why can't we cure every disease known to man? Why can't we have peace on the planet? Why can't we have clean water, food, and education for every person on this planet? Why not? Why not? Why do we have to die to go to heaven? The earth is already in space. We can have heaven right now with just a change of consciousness, a change in this. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Why not? Because somebody said it was impossible. It can't be done. I'll tell you this, there's never been a statue erected to a critic. Never. Everybody will tell you how to do it, they never did it. It's true. So do you, be here now, because now is all you have. Do not go where the path may lead, but go where there is no path and leave a trail. That's my time, guys.
Let's talk. All right, so Aaron and Rayshonda, like we decided the first service was to be get connected with you. So why don't you guys tell me, like, when you first heard that, what did that mean to you? Get connected with you.
Get connected with you, to me, initially made me think about, okay, well, kind of like what we just heard, like, what's my purpose? How do I know who I am? How do I know what I want in life? Like, how do I know what I believe? How do I get to that belief? Like, just sort of, it makes you think about, like, what's my core? Like, who am I? Like, and getting connected to myself, how do I do that, and how can I connect to other people?
Okay. Rayshonda?
It's a tough question.
It is.
It's definitely a tough question.
Can I try to, repeat what's already said?
Oh.
I don't know. We should come back around to me.
Come back around to you. All right. When I first heard, because when we first, as a young adult group and everything, we came together and we were like, okay, what's first? I was like, and I put out, let's get connected with God. And then I think Aaron, it was you who was like, let's get connected with you first. And I was like, man, that kind of hits, because before you can start, and like that's in couple relationships, that's in friendships, that's in like even
family relationships.
Even family relationships, like you have to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, and if you're not like fully connected with yourself, when you try to build that relationship, you try to get that friendship, even family closeness, it kind of always goes back and forth. You're just trying to figure things out. You're trying to see why this doesn't work. You're trying to figure a lot of stuff. And I realized, like, especially as a young adult in the church and everything, and you're a part of so many ministries, and you don't know yourself, and you keep wondering why stuff's gonna fail. Like everything you doing, like, oh man, I had this hit program, and it drops, it fails. Or I felt like I sang good in church. Oh, I felt like I did this. But the thing is, like, when you're doing stuff like that, you're kind of looking for the approval of the church. Like, I used to do that all the time. Like, Aaron, you can remember when we were in Triple C, We in that choir, like, I was always showboating. I was like, yo, let me get the audience hype. Let me
Like
get the...
that's who Avery is. Like
And that's what everybody knew me for. They're like, Avery is the fast song, upbeat song guy. He's the one rapping in church. He's the one, as people say, jumping off the stage. He's doing all that. I was like, I need to get that approval. And in the end, yeah, I got the approval. Everybody loved it. But then after we did church and after we did everything else, everybody went back to doing their own stuff because they were already figuring out life. And I was there by myself.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of, honestly, I think that's where like a lot of stuff like anxiety and sometimes even depression sort of kicks in, because you grow up in an institution like a church and that's what you know. And then especially being Seventh-day Adventist kids, you know, how do you fit? Like, we know where we fit in church, but then when we try to figure out life and how to build a relationship with God outside of church, outside of what we know, it's like, how do we do that if we don't know where we fit?
Exactly. And I think one problem is, like, when you're a youth, you got your parents who tell you, you go to church, you do this, you live this life, you do this, you focus on that. When you become a young adult,
you don't have that script anymore.
You don't have that script.
The script is gone.
And so you kind of look at the world like, all right, what am I supposed to do? So you start trying different things. But then one thing I don't like, and it might get me in trouble for saying it, but like, I don't like when the church tells you, well, you know, to fix that problem of you not knowing where you are, you need to come back to the church. And I'm like, but I grew up in the church.
Right.
I grew
it's like
up.
Here we do kind of know where we fit. It's out there we need to know where we fit. And out here, I mean, out in here and out there don't exactly, you know,
work.
They don't merge.
No. And everybody's like, well, you can take like, you know, you could be here. And then a lot of the words that a lot of adults say, like, well, you know, at least if you know here where you are, you can go be a pastor. You can go be an elder. You can go be a deacon, a deaconess, and everything in that mindset. They're like, if you're here, you know what you are. And then I feel like, okay, I got connected with the church, but
not really me.
Exactly.
And it's like, along with that, it's like, I want to be connected to God in my way. How do I do that? It's like, church is a almost strict regimen.
It
and
is.
It's like, we're creatures of habit, yes, but sometimes, especially with generational shifts, those habits need to change a little. And adaptation is a part of becoming a young adult, and that navigation it's tough.
It is. So, Rachel, let me ask you this question. Because, all right, me and Aaron, we grew up Adventist, but you didn't grow up Adventist. Or did you grow up Adventist? Okay. So, if you grew up Adventist, like, when you get connected, like, you were trying to get connected with your own, but you had a different upbringing, where me and Aaron, we were like in everything. Like, we were in Christmas programs, we were in children's choir, we went from children's choir, Sabbath school, vacation Bible school, everything. Like everything growing up, we were in the church stuff. It wasn't literally until we reached probably the age of 18?
Maybe even after
18, like that, we actually like, okay, I think I can try something different, but you didn't have that upbringing. So why don't you kind of talk about like what was yours kind of like? And
honestly, I understand like being in strict households, but no, church was always a choice for me. Whereas
yeah,
but y'all had to just be here. I think it really came from, I was always hanging around Stella, and she went to church, every week. She was over at Eternal Life, and so I just always went with her. I don't know, maybe I was just attached to my big sister or something. But then I started to get involved in stuff. Like, it was like every now and then at first, I would go to VBS or, something that they did for kids. Um, but I didn't get like really involved until I decided to join Pathfinders. And I would say, yeah, it's different. Like, it was a lot of stuff I didn't necessarily like about Pathfinders. Like why we have to wear this skirt?
Oh, yeah. I wanted pants so bad.
I'm like, why we got to wear this Medea skirt? I'm like,
Yeah.
we
I remember
hard
wanting
to
pants.
get pants.
Yeah.
But even then in Pathfinders, we had a little more freedom, and I would say we really owe that to Miss Jackie. Like she really understood like they're kids. They want to do this, they want to do that, and so she was always, of course, God first. So it's like you guys can do it like after sunset on the Sabbath and stuff like that. And of course we had curfews or whatnot, but I would say I kind of had it a little more easy.
So like, would you say that maybe having the choice helped you better, like, build a relationship that you do have, like, with God, with, like, becoming an adult?
Because it wasn't, like, forced upon me.
Yeah.
And that's definitely fair. And I mean, it's not just Adventist.
It's not
Parents and children. It's Baptist,
Everybody.
Methodist. It's everything. When it's forced, it's there's no room to grow. It's like okay, well, if this is what I know and this is what you're telling me, all right, but then how do I figure it out by myself? Like, if you're not gonna tell me stuff anymore, like, once I'm 18, once I'm 21, once I'm 25, like,
exactly. And I think that was one thing, like, Aaron, me, you went to the homeschool. Like, I went from First Flint to the homeschool in Bro, and then I went to GLI. Had the whole incident while I was at GLI. Then I went to college and everything like that. And I think, like, even though I did not like or want to go to Oakwood, I think Oakwood was a good experience for the mindset of I had a choice there. So, like, at Oakwood, they did make it mandatory. You had to go to so many worship service or whatever to get credit to go away for the weekend and stuff like that. So I made sure I did my credits, but I still had a choice. Like, I could go, not go. Like, if I didn't want to go away for the weekend, it didn't really matter. I was on the campground. I didn't have a car. So, but then when I started, like, working at the church, doing communication, doing media stuff and everything like that, it was by choice. And, like, it wasn't because I had to be there. I had to go. Like, when I was growing up, me and Brianna were, like, we had to be at Sabbath school. We had to be at church. Then if there was an afternoon program, AY, most likely, we had to be at that too. So it was with your dad being the first elder of the church, you're at a lot of programs. And then because of that, you're held to, a lot of people say, like, pastor's kids have the standards,
yeah.
Being the first elder's kid, you're at that same standard. So people look at you and they're like, okay, Avery, I'm watching you. So if I did anything, and I think that was the reason why I kind of was showboating at the church, because, like, everybody's like, Avery, you gotta be here. You have to be a suit and tie. I was like, I don't want to wear a suit and tie. You have to do this. You can't rap. I'm gonna rap. You can't act out. I'm gonna do this because because I want to be different. And literally, I would say, the biggest change with me was, like, going to college, but then also I got the dreadlocks, and everybody was like, well, Dexter Clark don't have no dreadlocks now, so that's a little different. And, like, people started, and, like, when I got the dreadlocks, I started working camp and everything like that. A lot of people started noticing me for me, because I built that connection with God personally. Because at school, there was one time I was just in my room, just like, all right, God, I'm tired. I'm tired of dealing with the church standard. I'm tired of dealing with this standard. I just really want to be myself. And it's kind of like I had to find myself in what I was doing. I went to school for music, so music became my passion of finding myself. I would write music, I would write songs, I would write stories, but it was a way of building a connection with myself and finding the inner meaning of myself and what worked for me. So my question is kind of like, what was that step that kind of got you that connection with yourself, figuring out like, okay, this is who I am. I'm not the Aaron Connor of the church. I'm not the Rayshonda of the church. I'm not known as this.
Oh boy, let's see. How real do you want to get in this talk?
I want to get all. I said, let's talk. Let's get really real.
Okay. Well, for me personally, what finally got me to see that I didn't have to live to a certain standard was honestly it was depression. Like growing up, like I wasn't a spotlight child necessarily, but, you know, be like an elder's child or anything like that. Yeah. But just being a child in a church, it packs on pressure, especially when over half of that church is like related to you.
Exactly.
So everyone's watching you grow up, everyone's watching you try to live to the standards that you're raised at, because those are the standards that made the generation before you and the generation before them. And it's like, well, if this is how I am, this is how you should be too. And realizing that, oh no, well, I like this style of fashion, and I like Harry Potter, and I like, you know, like I like Halloween. It's like, I know it's not real. Like exactly. I know that doesn't exist, you know, but I got weird looks a lot of the time growing up because I loved Harry Potter. Like I really did. Like I had all the books, like everything. I had bookmarks and accessories. So yeah, it like I got a lot of odd interaction sometimes with older adults, and I would hear it from my mom sometimes, like, you really shouldn't be reading those books. People are saying blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, it's what I like. It's not like I'm trying to, you know, indoctrinate other kids. It's like, come to the dark side, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a nerd. That's it. That's all it is. I'm just a nerd. Like, do I want it to be real? Sure. What kid doesn't want magic to be real? I mean,
exactly.
if we could make like a box of Lucky Charms appear in front of us just because, then yeah, who wouldn't do that? I would. And I'm 28 years old. I would do it now. But yeah, just like building that self-image and having to shut down things that I liked and fashions that I was starting to like, and just having to adhere to like such strict rules, and also becoming diabetic. Lots of home remedies and read the Bible. And it's like, okay, yes, but this is also a biological disease that I have to deal with. That you're not making it any easier for me to deal with.
Yeah.
Because it's very well-meaning, but then if it's all you hear just continuously, okay, well, this is how you should live, this is how you should be, this is how children need to behave. And growing up trying to express your opinion, it's like, okay, yes, talk to us, please. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what's wrong and what's going on with you. And the minute you start trying to do that, it's automatically, okay, well, you should be seen, not heard. And when you grow up like that, it's very emotionally stunting. And I may be an overly sensitive person, maybe, but when you get it from people you admire and from people you know want the best for you, it's like, okay, this is so contradicting. Like, first, how am I supposed to be myself if I'm trying to tell you I want to be myself and then you say no? Like, what? How does that work? And it took getting sick a lot of times just from being stressed out because I started gaining weight, and then I would hear people saying things like, "Oh, do you think she's pregnant?" And it was a bit rough. Because I was dealing with a biological disease.
Yeah.
I was gaining weight because insulin makes you eat, and all of the medications I was on, it made me gain weight. I got bigger. And then I had also begun dating my husband currently at the time, Devin. And it was just automatic. Oh, she must be pregnant. And to overhear that after being raised in the church, and then having decades of family in the church, it's like, oh, so this is how people think of, oh, okay, great, that's wonderful. And I just remember being so upset and so depressed, and just, I didn't want to come anymore. Because it's just like, okay, well, if that's what people think about the children that have been raised here, like what?
And it hurts the worst, especially as a young adult when you're raised here, and like those assumptions. The assumptions that they see out in the world is the assumption that they put on you. Mm-hmm. So they're watching TV, they see people clubbing, they see people drinking, smoking, doing all this stuff. They automatically put that on you.
But it's like, how can you even think that if you are the ones who brought us up in this place? Like, and it's not just our parents, it's like the entirety of the church brought up all of the kids. So it's like, what?
And you kind of look, and it makes you question a lot of things, and then you're like, and for me, what I learned is kind of like when somebody puts something on you, it's because of something that happened to them. And it's like they're like, and you know, we hear it all the time, especially growing up here, I don't want you to end up like me. Mm-hmm. And you're like,
well, it's like, well, how come we never had this conversation before now?
Exactly. I'm 22 years old, I'm 25, and I'm like, you're just telling me this now. You should have talked about me this when I was like 16, 17 growing up. But
yeah, because like I feel like depression is something that doesn't get talked about, or like it does, but it's like skirted around.
You get like the definition, and then it's kind of like slid under the rug.
Yeah.
And like, we're gonna keep moving on with life. And the moment somebody says the word like, yeah, I'm dealing with depression, the church becomes like, oh, it's because of this and this. It's because you're doing too much. It's because da-da-da-da-da. And they don't understand that some of that depression actually came from them. Mm-hmm. And like, you can try to say it, you can try to speak it, you can be like, you're giving me depression. Like, I'm dealing because, and they're like, oh, no, it's because of that job you're working. Oh, no, it's because of that person you're dating. Oh, no,
you're just taking on too much.
Exactly. And you're like, and then, and it's sad to say, in your mind, you're trying to say, no, it's because I'm taking on you. If I step away from you, like, I have better days when I, like, and it's sad to say, like, when I don't think about the church or thinking about stuff like that, a lot of young people have better days. Mm-hmm. They walk away fine, they walk away happy, but I think it's because they started getting connected with themselves, and they're realizing who they are out there. Mm-hmm. And like, one thing is always like, the church is always here. You can always come back to the church and everything like that. But like with the subject, it's kind of like getting connected with you. You have to get connected with you outside of the church. Mm-hmm. So then when you come back to the church, you're bringing a whole new mindset, a whole new enlightening,
you're better prepared to serve and ready to serve.
Exactly.
And not just to serve, but be able to do what you know you can and what you know you love, serving.
Exactly.
You know? Because, like, I love music. Like, I mean, I can't, like, play music very well, but I love to sing. I sing now to my kids. We sing gospel every single Saturday, and sometimes during the week. Like it's just, music is a way that I've been able to just relax and like decompress. And because I do still struggle with depression, like I use music, especially traditional gospel and like some today's gospel, to just meditate and just be, just, I don't know, like just you get in your headspace and it's comforting, you know, you listen to the lyrics of a song and it's like, yes, that's me right now. You listen to the lyrics of another song and it's like, yes, I had that struggle 2 days ago. And then another song comes on and it's like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. This was what I needed, you know?
Takes you to a better place.
Yeah.
So, Rayshonda, what about you? Like, what helped you get to that point where you were like, where you got connected with yourself?
I would say the same thing that she said, depression. I think a lot of it comes from, cause like depression doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Like you build up to that point that you're fed up. And like being young, and this is not even, you know, in the church, but just in families in general and stuff like that. People will do stuff, they'll do stuff, say stuff, and you're not able to feel any kind of way about it because they're an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a lot of situations, like say you get in trouble, and it's you got in trouble for something you didn't even do, but, you know, the adults are so focused on, you know, pulling power plays over you when stuff could just be solved with simple communication.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, some people don't feel like they need to communicate with, you know, kids in their eye.
It's like you're not at my level, so I don't need to explain to you.
Right. And it's just like, and so, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, the be seen instead of heard. And then it's like, once I grew up, I'm like, my whole thing is, if you didn't want to hear kids, you shouldn't have had kids. Like, if you don't want to hear them, don't have them, because it's like, so it's like, yeah, basically you're just constantly getting pushed back in your shell. And then once you're older, you know, the adults wonder why, well, how come you don't tell me anything? Or how come you don't talk to me about this? I was raised not to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. You didn't want me to talk to you, so. And so it's like growing up, once you get to a certain age, you're literally trying to dismantle some of the things you were taught, or, you know, unlearn some stuff. And so
it's hard.
It is hard.
Unlearning is hard.
Especially if it's like, you know, if it's family and you don't necessarily want to never talk to them again.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't want it to be bad blood, but don't push your limits now because I'm not a kid anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's one switch, especially with parents, they don't like to turn off.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to that certain age. Like once you reach 18, you're like, okay, you're beginning that adulthood. Once you reach 21, you're like, okay, it's legal now. I can do a lot. Once you once you hit 25, at that point, it's like, yeah, there's nothing really that holds me back from doing anything.
It's like now I'm pretty much a full-fledged adult.
And I think like a lot of parents, that's a hard thing for them because they're still seeing you as that little kid who's still running to tell them everything. And like now if you call them, you're like, hey, what's going on? And it's like, it's not really like a deep conversation. It's more like, yeah, you know, work's good. This is fine. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah. Talk to you later. And they're like, well, you used to run and have full hour conversations with me. Like, it was so detailed. And now it's kind of like, I know, but, you know, like you were saying, Rayshonda, like, I was raised not to, you know, if I tell you certain things, you might get mad, you might have an attitude, you might da-da-da-da-da. So I'd rather go have that conversation with somebody I'm dating or with a best friend or with a cousin or with a sibling or something like that because they were at my level.
Yeah.
And they have a better understanding of it. And they're not going to sit there and say, well, you shouldn't have did it. That's your problem. You shouldn't have even gone there. That you should have listened to me. And like, nobody wants that. especially even
Like
as a
not,
kid.
not if you're going, especially not if you're going through something.
Yeah.
It's like I just need someone to hear me out and then maybe give me a hug after. You know?
Like, let me vent. That's all I want. I want to vent to you. I don't want. And I may listen, but if your feedback is you shouldn't, then you shouldn't. Just leave it alone. And I kind of realized that, especially in Triple C, I can say that was one thing. That was a good thing we had. We could all vent around with everybody in that group because everybody had an experience.
Everybody was going through the same stuff. Like
exactly.
it was stuff we didn't talk about with the adults because it's like, okay, well, you know, this is our space. Like this is where we can vent about school, about like what we're going through at school, what we're going through at home, what we're going through just everyday life, like what I had for breakfast. I don't know.
Exactly. And I laugh about that now because like now that I'm a director of a mind group who are all literally pretty much, I got a couple teenagers, but a lot of young adults. When that group first started, a lot of them were not really as close as they are now. But like now after 7 years, they built a good family relationship where they can talk to each other every day. They can hit up everybody when dealing with the same issues. And it's like, it's a full circle when you're like now the adult one looking in.
Yeah,
and
you've been able to provide that space.
Exactly. And you're
A
like,
new group, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is what we need.
exactly.
Like
And
new headspace.
No, that's what you need. And I feel like that's one thing, especially with getting connected with oneself. Like it's kind of like in what I've heard throughout this is like 3 points. Like to get connected with oneself, first you kind of got to get away from where you've always been. You can't start trying to find yourself. Like me and you, Aaron, we couldn't find ourselves in the church with all the stuff we were raised up in. We had to like literally leave in a sense. Like, and it wasn't like a lot of people feel like, oh, they left the church, they're never coming back. And it's like, no, we didn't leave it. We just kind of took our space from it.
Yeah, just took a few steps back.
Like we didn't want to be called for every little thing. Like we wanted to find ourselves. And then once you do that, it's kind of like you need to. Second thing is like get in deep thought with yourself. Like you guys said you were dealing with depression, but the thing with depression, a lot of with depression, you kind of want to be more alone. And when you're in the alone process, you think. You're not just sitting there like, I'm alone, I'm going to go to sleep. You're like, no, it's like, I'm alone.
I don't know. I go to sleep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, sometimes there were days like that. It was like, no, I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay in this bed. And that's it.
But even with those processes of y'all being alone and going to sleep, you were thinking.
Yeah.
You were thinking about stuff you were going through and everything like that. How can I fix it? How can I handle it?
Yeah, like for me, in my own little journey, like it was the stuff I would think about would be, okay, well, first off, I've got to try to not be so hung up on what other people are thinking of me just because I grew up in the church, just because people think I'm a certain way. Like, because I grew up being quiet, you know, people would sort of walk over me, and I would let it happen because it's just like, okay, well, they're adults. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? Because, yeah. And now as an adult, and also after having children, I am realizing I have very little patience now. I have very little patience for anything I perceive as like being bullying to another person's personality, because like he said, personality isn't as reliable as you need it to be, but if you're suppressing someone's personality as they're trying to grow, you know, how are they going to figure out for themselves where they're supposed to go, where they're supposed to be, how to make the connection spiritually, like with their whole self, if they're not allowed to get there, you know? So like that would be something I would find myself thinking about which was like the core sometimes of my depression, was just like, okay, I have to not think about what other people think of me. I have to figure out how I want to connect with God myself, not do it by the regimen of someone else. Like, how do I want to radiate God? You know, like, how do I want to do it?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was like the core of some of the thoughts I would have. It's like, okay, don't think about other people, think about you. How do I start?
Exactly. And I kind of appreciate that because, like, Aaron, when we were younger, like, as you know, like, I got an older sister, and my older sister was, like, the popular one with everybody. Like, everybody wanted to hang out with Brianna. And, like, everybody wanted to be with Brianna. And so then you have the brother who's in the back who's trying to be like, hey, guys, can I come out? And they're all like, no, Brianna, let's go. And so I'm like, well, okay. So I started, like, and Aaron knows, like, when I was at Miss Broden's and things like that, I was developing my own little stuff.
Yeah.
So I would always be in, like, doing stupid characters in class. We would be learning Spanish and be like, uno, dos, tres. I'm like, oh, no. Da, 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 da. And then, like, Aaron and Alexa would be mad, like, Avery, come on now. And I'd be like, but it's bringing fun. Because I had to excite myself because I always felt like I was being put down.
Yeah, I think me and Alexis threatened you at least once a day.
Once a day. It was once a day in school. And at that point, I was like,
Avery, if you don't shut up.
but it kind of helped fill me. And the thing is, like, I had to find friends my age. But one thing I learned from the experience of having, like, everybody not want to hang out with me, I never really wanted to have that for the generation under me. So it was kind of like with everybody under me, little cousins, friends, everything like that. I was like, oh, you need somebody? I'm here. If you have a problem, you can call me. You have this, you can, because I had to find a way to get connected with myself so I can help others. And now I have little cousins who every time I see them, they're always excited to see me like, hey, Avery's here, da, da, da. And I love that. My mime group is, I feel comfortable. I'm glad they can come and talk to me about anything and everything. I'm like, whatever, if you want to talk about it, let's talk. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you. It's your life. Live it.
And I think that it really falls in line with like being able to have a person like that you can go to when you're growing up. It's like, okay, like I think I'm at the point where I want to learn how to really believe now. Like, okay, who can I ask about this? Like, who can I go to about how to start? Like, how do
Exactly.
who will actually help me and not just talk at me, you know? Especially when it comes to crisis of faith, because I feel like every young adult goes through that.
They do.
I'm an adult and I'm still going through that. Sometimes.
Exactly. And it's crazy because, like, a lot of adults will tell you, just go read the Bible, you'll figure it out. And I'm like,
It's like, what huh?
I was like, I understand the Bible is known as, like, the study to heaven and everything, and it's supposed to be your guide, but I'm like, sometimes you want to have that conversation.
It's like, can we talk it out?
Can we talk through this guide and everything like that? And I have a really great appreciation, and it's funny, like, 3 of my best friends are pastors, and so, like, having them as pastors, like, I can always go through stuff and, like, I'll be like, yo, man, I'm going through the struggle, I'm trying to deal with this, and they'll be like, they'll give that biblical perspective, but they're also giving that great, like, but I understand what you're going through, man.
Yeah.
I'm going through the same thing. I went through the same thing. I talked to